Hello there, everyone. It's Dove again. I thought I would talk about containers today and how to select them and how to work with them. And it's pretty basic stuff usually, but I think I might have a few hints that might be useful to some people. And so, yeah, containers range from really, really cheap to very elaborate, and very small to very big, obviously. And I think the most important thing you could remember when picking out a container, whether it's a recycled bucket or a really nice ceramic pot, is to make sure that it has drainage holes, because you could really kill your plants if it doesn't have drainage. And so you could use 5-gallon buckets. I've got probably 15 to 20 of them here, plus these bags, and I'm growing potatoes in those. And you can find smaller buckets like that like the drywall compound comes in and stuff, but you just want to make sure, because those are watertight, you want to make sure that you're drilling holes in the bottom or along the outside edges so that it has some drainage. And sometimes when you get some of these plastic containers, like this one, it just has one drainage hole and it's huge. And so if you're using something like the potting mix that I posted a recipe about, this stuff's pretty fine and it will just fall right through that hole. And so for whatever you're working with, if you're using a nice loose potting mix like this, like the one I made a recipe for, then you're going to want to make sure that you put screening in the bottom of your container. Either screen, this is fiberglass screen, or you could use insect netting, you could use landscaping fabric, you could use burlap even. Pretty much almost anything, as long as water can go through it, but not the potting mix. And so, just a standard container. It comes with it's got a plug in there, and I took the plug out and everything, but you want to make sure that you're covering that. But of course, you want to make sure that there's a drainage hole in there. And if that's not enough for you, you can always drill extra holes in there. And then you've got half whiskey barrels. I have 2 tomato plants a piece in here, plus some flowers that aren't liking the full sun very much. And these are my pepper plants. This is just another regular plastic pot. It was like, $10 or whatever. And most of the time these come with trays. And last year I grew peppers in these pots last year, and the trays had to come off because there was too much water sitting in the bottom of it, and it was literally killing the plant because it was just not draining off. There was drainage holes in the bottom of the planter, but that tray was holding it all in. And I would pick up the planter, when I noticed something was wrong, I picked it up, and the tray literally dropped because it was so full of water. And so, for instances like that, if you have something like that, and this is a bigger version, this is a really nice big one that I just got the other day. I'm going to put a couple bell peppers in here. So if you take the tray off and you need some filler, because a lot of people like to fill their pots whether they need to or like to or whatever. In my case, I pretty much need to, because this thing is huge and I don't want to have to fill this all the way with potting soil, because the roots are not even going to need all that space. And so what I did was took this tray after I pried it off and broke it. I took an awl and poked it down into all those holes, and I knocked them all out, and so now they are drainage holes. And so I'm just going to turn it upside down, put it in my pot, and I've just created about 4 to 5 inches of filler space there, so I don't have to fill up the whole thing with potting mix right now. And of course, you want to put your screen down in there to cover up the holes so that your potting mix doesn't go through your drainage holes, and because it could either go through it completely or go down in there and plug them up, and either way you don't want either one of those things to happen. So that's how I fill these containers. You can also use, like this is the rigid insulation board, you could use that as filler. Like these are my these are probably my nicest pots right here. These are clay fiber pots, and they're 21 inches across, and they're really nice and they're very heavy, and I like them a lot. And I got these last two on sale, thankfully, because they're pretty expensive, but they only have the one drainage hole in there, and so I'm covering that with screen. And again, I don't need that whole depth right there for the roots of the plants. I'm going to put 2 ground cherry plants in here, and I don't think it's going to need that much root space. And so I'll probably just go ahead and take a few of these pieces of rigid, very rigid insulation board and put that down in there just to fill it up just a little bit so that I'm not spending quite so much money on potting mix. And let's see what else we have. Oh, this is your standard herb pot. It looks like a strawberry pot, but it's a little miniature. I don't really like these too much because the potting mixture tends to try to come out of here until your plants get full grown and fill that up. And also there's a problem with these plants not receiving quite as much water as they should, and so this is more decorative for me, and I don't really use it, but I just thought I would show it to you. There's another ceramic pot, and the tray is attached, and it does have the drainage hole, but again, it's very big, and so I've just got this little tiny piece of scrap screen that, you know, I don't throw away screen because it's so useful for so many things, and I'll just put that right down in there if I use this pot, which I may or may not this year. And so, oh yeah, and I had rocks down in there, and I don't recommend using rocks as filler because when you go to renovate your pot, when you go to dump out the soil and you know, add compost to it or whatever and put it back in there, or if you're just dumping your soil on your compost pile, your rocks are going to come out with it, and then you're going to have to sit there and pick out rocks for 10 minutes, and it's not fun. And so I really don't recommend using rocks unless they're great big rocks, you know. And, well, I mean, everybody's just going to have to learn from their own experiences, and it may work for some people, but like I said, I didn't like it because I had to dig rocks out of soil for 5 to 10 minutes, and it was just a pain, so I don't do that anymore. I learned my lesson on that one. Oh, and another filler some people like to use is packing peanuts, but the problem being that nowadays these packing peanuts are biodegradable. So unless you have the old kind of packing peanuts, you're going to want to check these before you put them in there, because if they disintegrate in water, then you're not using much filler there because it's just going to be gone. See? Look how fast that disintegrated. So there's really no sense in using a packing peanut that is biodegradable, obviously, and I'm not sure if people realize that most of them are biodegradable now or not, but like this whole bag of peanuts that I've collected, they're all the biodegradable ones, so I couldn't use any of those for filler material. So make sure that you're using the very rigid, hard-packed peanuts that when you stick them in a glass of water, they won't disintegrate. And looking around, trying to see if there's anything else. I mean, you can grow in anything. I mean, anything that will hold water that you can put a drainage hole in can be a container. You know, it doesn't have to be store-bought. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can even use, like, these old pots from the nursery. Those are what my blueberry bushes came in. And so I'm actually going to reuse these this year because I'm running out of pots and I need just a few more. And so these are the smaller ones. I have 2 of these and 2 that are bigger, and so I'm going to use the 2 bigger ones for peppers, and then this smaller one I'm going to use for a Thai pepper because it doesn't get very big. So just be creative, you know. Use whatever you have. You can use watering troughs like those old metal cow and horse troughs, you know. You can use those. You can use old swimming pools, you know, old sand boxes, you know, the hard plastic swimming pools, of course, and, you know, sand boxes and stuff like that. Anything that you can drill drainage holes into would work, definitely. And as far as starting seeds and everything, you can start seeds in just about anything too. You've got peat pots and regular pots, and this is a tray of impatiens that I grew in one of those salad things, you know, that you get at the store with the pre-cut lettuce or whatever. And, you know, you just drill holes and whatever and make it so. Okay, well, I think that was it. Oh, I forgot to show you the peppers. These are little peppers, or ornamental peppers, but something like this, you know, it's really long, and these are small plants, so I put 3 in each planter because it's got plenty of space. So definitely fill it in, you know. Just shove as much as you can into as small a space as possible, you know, without harming the plants and everything, of course. Okay? Well, if you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you later, guys.